Mesoamerica is a geographic concept that is actually defined on the basis of shared cultural attributes of many different interactive human societies from southern Mexico and Central America. The cultural characteristics that define this region of the world relate variously to religious beliefs and ritual practices, to standardized habits in religious symbolism, to architectural preferences, measurements of time, and other forms of human expression. The most widely recognized cultures of Mesoamerica include the Aztecs of central Mexico and the Maya of Mexico's Gulf coastal plain, but mostly because these were the civilizations that were first encountered and described by European settlers after the Spanish conquistadors first made contact with the Americas. In fact, as many as 125 languages were spoken historically in Mesoamerica, these belonging to around 10 language families. The complicated geography of Mesoamerica is broken up by various mountain ranges and includes all the known biomes of our planet, such as tropical rainforests, broadleaf forests, conifers, alpine meadows, to deserts and savannas and high steppes. Thus, many distinctive human morphotypes and cultural types inhabit the zone. But these distinctions never prohibited the sharing of cultural traits across the landscape of Mesoamerica. Whether by force and military actions or by friendly ties through trade and civil cooperation, the process of cultural diffusion seems to have held a diverse group of human societies together and in close communication in ways that seem to parallel the aforementioned interrelationships between the Egyptians, Phoenicians, and Greeks. Mesoamerican civilizations and their smaller satellite societies often focused their spiritual efforts on worshiping the material source of their welfare, of their sustenance, which typically involved the worship of deities that govern growth cycles and the success of their staple crops. Many cultures of Mesoamerica recognized, for example, a maize deity, a corn god, as exemplified by the maize goddess of the Aztecs, Chicomecoatl, feathered-serpent, her name, who once presented ears of ripened corn to her followers on Aztec altars. Other less important plants, such as tropical chocolate trees, were also deified. Chocolate beans were employed widely as currency among Mesoamerican peoples. For who wouldn't take a strong liking and place a value on that ever so satisfying food product? Hence, distinctive regional plant gods are one of many defining characteristics of Mesoamerican cultures. Another classic Mesoamerican trait relates to pyramidal constructions that were erected in an architectural style known to archaeologists as talud tablero. Most important urban centers of southern Mexico were centered around stone mounds formed by a mounting series of flat terraces that were supported by alternating sloped walls. The famous Maya pyramids at Palenque during the 7th century exemplify this architectural style and seem to borrow directly from major structures of the classical city known as Teotihuacan, north of Mexico City, during the turn of the 2nd century A.D. Here, the famous pyramids of the sun, of the moon, and the famous feathered serpent god Quetzalcoatl were raised. And a closer examination of the talud tablero construction of the Temple of the Feathered Serpent at Teotihuacan typifies the general framework of Mesoamerican pyramid constructions. Nevertheless, every region and or time period distinguishes itself by elaborating on this basic architectural scheme by regionally based signatory modifications. The facades of talud tablero structures were often decorated with a conventional Mesoamerican symbolic design known as the step fret motif. The insignia is comprised of a zigzagged, stepped structure connected to a spiraled element. The symbol is typified in brickwork among the ruins of Mitla in the Valley of Oaxaca, but is just as prominent in the Valley of Mexico and as far north as the ruins of Tajín in northern Veracruz. Although this motif is ubiquitous, its specific and probably multivalent meanings is still a matter of conjecture. For example, a variant usage of the symbol is observed on the face of the Yucatec governor's palace at Uxmal in the northern Yucatan, many centuries following its appearance in the valley of Oaxaca. An undulating motif across the face of a building, which likely symbolized a Maya cosmic serpent. Mesoamerican temples and pyramids served the practice of religion and sacred rituals, one of which involved a gladiatorial ball game that was associated with regional creation myths. Like the step fret motif, the specific rules and significance of the ball game are not broadly understood, but most large urban centers surrounded at least one or several of these ritualistic features, including an early specimen of the ball courts at Yagul in the Valley of Oaxaca, not so very far from Mitla. An illustrated Central Mexican text, authored during the age of the Spanish conquest, known as the Codex Chichimeca Tolteca, draws a close connection between the image of the ball court and a natural habit that was identified with the Aztec concept of the paradise of the gods and the myths associated with that paradise. Their paradise, at least in the Aztec idiom, was known as Tolan, in reference to aquatic reeds, Tolin, the term meaning the land of the reeds, whence the cultural term Tolteca, signifying the people of Tolan. Participants in the ball game are believed to play the game in the context of a creation myth that involves conflicts between gods of an aquatic underworld, seen here as a body of water inhabited on its banks by Montezuma cypress trees, by cattails and rushes, the tulas or tolin, and also aquatic cotton plants and, of course, water lilies. The mythic notion of gods inhabiting an aquatic underworld is a widespread Mesoamerican theme, and one that is described in exacting detail in the famous pre-Columbian tale of the Popol Vuh. In fact, many prominent gods and goddesses of the Aztec and Maya pantheons resided in this fertile land. Tolan, known also variously as Tlalocan and Tamuanchan by the Aztecs, or as Puc and Xibalba to Maya groups,